and I tend to use Lectio Divina and just allow God to speak to me in any way, shape, or form. And so, in the midst of all of this turmoil, I sought God this week, and the conversation that we had is what I'm going to read to you tonight. And so I call this God's Lament. Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 3 states, "This is what the Lord says to the people of Judah and to the residents of Jerusalem. Break up your hard, rocky soil. Don't plant among thorns. Break up your hard ways. Pluck the hatred from your hearts. I see your pain and suffering, your grief and anguish. I see the anger seeping, the frustration growing, the lack of hope making a home in your heart. I have not turned a blind eye to this, to any of this. I weep for you. I weep with you. To all of my creation, your suffering is also mine. Does the potter not weep when the pottery cracks? Does the painter not weep when the paint never dries? I did not intend what I created in love to die in hate. My intention was not for you to move from tragedy to tragedy, trauma to trauma, suffering to suffering, sorrow to sorrow. No, my blessing over you is meant to be life. Life in love, life through love, life being love. But love requires a vigilance of what takes root in the heart. You see, hatred is not random. It's rooted in small acts. So I ask you, what have you allowed to seep into your hearts and take root? The hatred that has taken root disregards love when coming out through words and actions. The actions that then cause hurt and anger in the hearts of our neighbors. The neighbor that then becomes steeped in this anger and seeks vengeance. The vengeance that becomes legislature, hate speech, murders, discrimination, mistreatment, massacres, acts of terrorism. So you see, my children, none of you are too far from the very hatred that causes you to weep. For when you have not acted out of love, you've sown seeds of hate. So I call you now to do the work. Yes, come together. Fight poor policy. Resist systemic hate. But also search your hearts and break up the hard, rocky soil where hatred may have taken root. What flows from your heart flows into your being. So seeds of justice, equality, patience, and love cannot be planted amongst thorns. You cannot extend acts of love to your neighbor while pricking their fingers as a requirement to receive it. So I encourage you to pluck those roots that do not speak love. Pluck up those roots that make you turn a blind eye to the plights of those around you. Pluck up those roots that turn your fears into phobias. My children, I need you to pluck these things from your hearts so they do not turn into actions and grow. So that you won't need to move from tragedy to tragedy, trauma to trauma, hatred to hatred, hopelessness to hopelessness. No, instead, it is my desire for you to be grounded in love if tragedy strikes, so that you may move from sorrow and grief to healing and release. Again, I see you. I see your pain. I suffer with you. And so my prayerful response to God's lament is simply, God of love, we ask you to help pluck these roots from our hearts, remove things that have grown thorns, so that as we move through this life, our entire beings will be rooted in love.